Bro, I have a theory right now. There was something that I tested with this, and yes, it did shock me. The other times I put it in ground, it didn't shock me, but the one time I did, it did, and I understand why now. For most of you, this may come as a stretch, but hear me out on this. Suppose you have wire in the ground, deep inside the ground, right? And there's a bunch of rocks. And let's say, for example, you were to somehow plot your land with a bunch of red dirt that's filled with a bunch of quartz, smoky quartz, rose quartz. I wouldn't say granite, but you get the gist of it. Now, suppose it starts raining. Now all that excess water that's on the top dripping downwards is adding extra weight onto those crystals. Combine that with the rain, and now you have a set condition where the rocks slash crystals are not only under constant high compression based on how deep they are underground, they are also letting off a whole bunch of electricity, which is why your house can really light up when it rains, which is extremely why it's dangerous freaking hooking up your electricity or hooking up your ground wire outside when it's raining. The conditions are just right for piezoelectricity to take place, allowing that gradient to be high enough to give me a shock and to turn some lights on. I remember I was at my pop's place and all of a sudden, as soon as it was raining, boom, the lights cut on. His former wife at the time thought it was, something with the power, some this, that, and the third, and how he hooked it up. Me, I just had this idea thrown to myself, and I was like, it could just be piezoelectricity. I just left it there, but now, revisiting it, now I understand. Especially when you hold something at constant pressure, just because it doesn't glow, that doesn't mean it ain't set up to glow. Let me cook. If a change in voltage is all that's needed for piezoelectric crystals to glow, like so, and while these crystals are under constant pressure, what takes a hard time for these crystals to glow would be extremely easy, especially since they're stored up at potential energy. That potential energy being constant high pressure. High enough pressure to the point where something as hard as this could be a tiny tap. And because of that, you have millions of tiny taps as well as a whole bunch of water pushing onto the ground constantly. The water on the ground is stationary and is adding to that overall pressure. Combine that with how deep the wire is underground, and to top this all off, the rain that's falling from the sky. Not only are you collecting energy when it rains, you're actually harvesting natural piezoelectricity when it rains, allowing you to use that electricity however you see fit. And because of that, you now have electricity from rocks and water. And honestly, this is just science. Like, oh God. Nature been showing us. And the fact that young me in 2022/2023 came up with this, only for me to figure out how it actually works, actually amazes me. So yeah, I discovered rain and electricity. Electricity from rain. You set the conditions up just right so that those crystals under high compression / high pressure can and are able to create that glow from a single tap. And yeah, so if you ever got shocked whenever it rains and you touch the ground, that's why. It's that and a combination of how there may be a little bit of that electrolyte in the water, that into which boosts the conductivity and thereby gives them an electrical pathway, so that what originally was ground actually is an electrical source. Water as the wires and the crystals as the battery. So I discovered a new phenomena. It's called rain energy, rain electricity, where you utilize water to set the conditions so that piezoelectricity can be created way easier. And yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. I should be sad at the end.